أحب أرحب بضيفتنا سارة تي شانون, founder and lead experiential designer of the cult. هتقدم لنا talk very interesting, very inspiring, I'm sure, بعنوان experiential design, casting stories onto spaces. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us and looking forward.
الصوت كده معقول؟ Okay. I'm so out of place with this mic. I need to help. مبسوطة جدا إن أنا هنا. And it's such an honor to be part of Film My Design second edition. سعيدة بكل اللي أنا شفته وسعيدة كمان إن I'm taking part of sharing a small part of the cult's experience with you guys. Okay, so we're gonna start off. أنا ممكن أديكم نبذة بسيطة عني. أنا زي ما فرح قالت, I'm the founder and lead experiential designer of the cult. And today we're gonna try and take you through what is experiential design and how do we do that through spaces. So we're gonna start off with asking what is an experience and what makes for a good one. And we went through it a bit, and we found this graph. هي مكتوب عليها في الtop the 5 senses graph, but it doesn't show here. فإحنا عندنا 5 senses بتوعنا: sight with sound, smell, touch, and taste. And then we have like a small bar that shows شدة الsense دي. And this is how our brains, our subconscious mind, sort of measures the experience بتاعتنا and whether it's a good one or an excellent one or it's a not so good one. So experiences are sort of in our day-to-day lives. And coffee, drinking coffee in the morning at any time is one of those experiences. A show of hand كده, who thinks that drinking coffee or having coffee is a good experience? Yeah, all coffee lovers? Yeah? Okay. So we took sort of the coffee experience onto the graph and we tried to measure it in terms of senses. Where does the senses hit? So if we talk about sight, when you're drinking coffee, you're definitely seeing the cup and you're seeing the liquid. If we're talking about the touch, you can definitely feel the warmth of it, or if it's super hot. Sound usually goes up and down. It depends on if you're actually hearing the coffee being made or it's being grinded. ولا لأ, ولا أخذت الcoffee to go and I didn't actually hear it. Smell is sort of high, it's extremely high, and the taste is also extremely high. So if we look at the graph, it says, it gives us an indication in that it is a good experience. And subconsciously, that's what happens with us. Here's another experience, which is swimming in the ocean or in the sea. Another show of hands. Who thinks that this is a good experience? Sort of. Oh, all swimmers. Everyone who loves the beach. Okay. So we went again to the graph, and we found that most of the senses, or almost all of them, are super heightened. You have the sight, of course, of the beach, and you can see the sea. The touch of the water, the sand, the sound, waves, the smell of the sea, and even the taste. رغم إن إحنا ما بنشربش قوي مية البحر يعني, but still with the diving and going into the water, there is a certain taste. فبالتالي, again, subconsciously, our mind reads it as a good experience. So what we're going to start to do is we're going to take this one emotion and we're going to see how every sense will take you back to this emotion. So we thought about euphoria. What is euphoria? So it's blissfulness, exhilaration, if you're super excited, overexcited, exaggerated happiness. And we went through the 5 senses, and when I thought about euphoria in terms of sight, the first thing that came to mind was fireworks. بالنسبة لي, there are other different senses that you feel when you see fireworks. It has the sight, it has actually a smell, and it has sound too. But It's very heightened in terms of a sight. Makes you super excited. It takes you to sort of a parallel universe, and that's what we think of, or when we think of euphoria, it gives me that sense of a parallel universe, a very happy place that I want to go back to. Smell. Again, we heard the word euphoria and we thought of smell. وفي عدة دراسات مع some research, we realized in most of the citrusy smells take you to that sense of euphoria. And the reason why, it lowers شوية your anxiety and it heightens the positive reinforcements sort of in your emotions. Pink grapefruit, for some reason, its smell is one of the most smells that takes you to, it's very heightened, so it takes you to that sense of euphoria. Taste, cotton candy. Who likes cotton candy? Does it take you to a happy place?
Yes.
Okay, do you know why it takes you to a happy place?
My childhood.
Yes, exactly. So when we thought of euphoria in terms of taste, we went to something sweet, and especially for me, it relates to cotton candy. والسبب لده إن again, your brain triggers some signals that takes you to childhood. It was always the reward. لما بتعمل حاجة كويسة بتاخد candy. When you get good grades, دايما المدرسين كانوا, they gave us candy. So for a small moment, it took you to that happy place. Again, it gave you that sense of euphoria. في senses تانية مع cotton candy as an experience. I would say it's a very good experience because you have the touch, you have the sound, you have the smell, the taste, and the sight. So eating cotton candy actually would make for a good experience. Touch. So we dabbled with so many fabrics or so many, I don't know, tactiles that would take you to the sense of euphoria. And for me, fur triggered it very well. It's a soft material. It's very malleable, and it gives that fuzzy feel. It's the same feeling if you're petting your pet, your cat, or your dog. Again, it heightens that sense of happiness, so it takes you to the sense of euphoria and happiness and blissfulness. Sound. The first thing I thought of when I was looking for a sound to give me the sense of euphoria was the Beatles. For some reason, I went to the Beatles, but I went back and did some research to know why did the Beatles give me that sense of euphoria. And it turns out, of course, because of the genre, psychedelic music, and especially the Beatles, they created their own genre of psychedelic rock. Psychedelic, the way some of the instruments that they use, I think the sitar and the tambura, the beat of the sound itself, the keynotes, all of that, again, takes you to that level of hiring the positive emotions that you have, and it lowers the negative emotions. So again, it takes you to the sense of euphoria. That doesn't mean that other genres wouldn't, or other sort of musics wouldn't, but it's the first thing that came to my mind when I thought of euphoria. So this is sort of an exercise we do before every certain project. What is the brief that we get, and what is the feeling that we want people to feel if they're going into that space? So as a small example, if I have a client that has a perfume store, and they said they want to create an experience that is euphoric and makes people very happy when they walk in. After doing that exercise, إزاي نحولها into spatial design? It doesn't mean that if I'm going into the space that I'm going to create a banner that has fireworks on it. But it means that I'm going to use materials that mimic that sense of fireworks. I'm going to use shiny materials. I'm going to use reflective materials. I'm going to try and mimic it in terms of materials and in terms of spatial design. I could use fur, I can use suede inside this space. It could be on the seating areas that we create. Of course, smell is already integrated, especially in يعني, perfume store. Yeah. But taste, we can definitely integrate that. Again, in each project, it doesn't mean that we're able to hit all 5 senses. في ساعات senses بتقع مننا أو it's not manageable that we actually do it أو نخليها محكمة زي again the scent in a perfume store. But if we're at an event and we're curating a fashion event, we were doing a fashion event once and actually they wanted to cater chicken wings in the fashion event, which didn't make any sense. Didn't make sense to the experience, it didn't make sense to whoever's the audience themselves, because you're going into a fashion event, you're dressed up, you look spectacular, and then who wants to be eating chicken wings? That doesn't make any sense. فبنحاول مع الexercise الصغير ده ان احنا نطبقه in terms of spatial design and in terms of material. So I think by now you guys could get a sense of what is experiential design. It's sort of tackling the 5 human senses and awakening them, how we hit them and how, or we hit on them, and try and address each and every one throughout our projects. Okay, so this is, yeah, just a few examples of the 5 senses. So I'm gonna take you into, this is like a project that we did. It's I wouldn't call it really a study model, but it's sort of like a project that the cult did. It's called Dirty Cookie. And we got a brief of this super, super interesting brand. They create cookies and something called a cookie shot. They have a patent for it. They started in LA as a catering business, and they're big doing catering. And it was the first brick and mortar store that they have here in Cairo. So they came to us and they asked us to create the store. And they gave us a branding and they told us who their target audience was, how they wanted sort of people to feel. And we came up with the concept of blurring the boundaries. And the reason why is that they wanted to have sort of a transparency between their clients and their audience and who they actually were. They wanted people to be more aware of what the brand does and to be sort of loyal to the brand. Again, every time when we create an experience in design, it makes people come closer to the brand and it makes them more loyal somehow. And the reason why is that a lot of stores are selling the same thing. If you have a store that's selling the same thing with a good experience and another one that's just, I don't know, you walk into ومشغل 9FM and then there isn't a certain experience to it, people won't be actually loyal. I can still buy that same item online. فاللي بيرجع الناس دلوقتي ان هي تروح stores معينة أو تبقى loyal to the brand, it's actually the experience. So we don't have the plan here, but we tried and hit on the 5 senses throughout the concept of blurring the boundaries. So when we walk in, actually you have the cookies. They partnered up with 7 Fortunes, so you have the smell of coffee, we have the scent, we have the taste. We had a wall in the back that was called the wall of frames. And it fit in the concept of blurring the boundaries. First of all, the frames actually turned, so you can go about and see what the brand did, what clients did they cater to before. It was sort of an insight of who the partners of the store were. And it also blurred the boundaries between the audience or the clients and the space. They got to touch the space while they were waiting for their ice cream to be prepared or their cookies to be made. You could definitely play with it around while you're walking around the counter. We created this really cool material that was stainless steel, but it was in the shade of a rainbow. And it actually hit the 3 colors of their branding. It took us maybe about 6 months to actually perfect the color and to create this whole counter like in a rainbow color. I would say that that is still tactile and also sight. Also, we have the taste of ice cream in the store. We created an installation that when you walk by, it created these shadows, and it was an interactive installation inside the store. And what we were thinking of is that we wanted to create an art installation that was sort of interactive, and it changed every time that you walked in the store. We once got this comment, is that when we create art installations, people after a bit get bored because you're taking the picture at the same wall every single time and it doesn't change. But with this art installation, it changed depending on your movement. We had like a peekaboo door into the kitchen, which also fit in terms of blurring the boundaries, that people could look inside and they could see what the chef was doing. Again, it creates a closer relationship between the audience, the client, and the brand itself. Some other senses here, and that fits sort of the concept. Again, with blurring the boundaries, we wanted to blur the boundaries between inside and outside, so we used sort of concrete inside. The kitchen tiles, and we fought very, very hard to actually have that wall of kitchen tiles out there. It was a huge deal with them all. I have no idea why. But again, to blur the boundaries between the people that are being served and the clients of the store and the kitchen inside. So with this project, we sort of tried to hit those five senses. We hit the touch, we hit on the touch. The sight with the art installation we did. It doesn't give it any justice. You need to see it in real life or through the video. The smell, the taste, and the sound. We created sort of a playlist. So with the concept of blurring the boundaries, we couldn't choose music that actually had that feeling of blurring the boundaries. But what we did is we created a playlist that changed from morning, afternoon, magic hour to night. And that was blurring the boundaries between all times of the day, sort of. So we created for the brand a playlist on Spotify. We have a Spotify. We create a playlist for Dirty Cookie. We curate the music, we give it to them, and if they want to take it forward, they definitely can. There are companies now that actually do that, and they change it from 1 month to another, because again, music with experience is very important. I am very loyal to some stores and to some brands, but I get so bored after a while listening to the same playlist over and over again. So music, not only that you're curating it once, but it needs to also be interchangeable throughout. You want the loyal customer to also not get bored of the space that you're creating. Does it show or did it glitch? Oh, okay. So this is the last thing I'm going to show you, which is the video that we did documenting Dirty Cookie as an experience. When we wanted to document it, we didn't really go towards the regular documentation of it being an interior design space. لأن ساعات I find difficulty in seeing an interior design space sort of in pictures. I want to have a feeling throughout a video. يعني زمان, we used to document our projects through photographs, and we realized that it doesn't do it any justice because you can actually sense what's happening in the pictures. So we started to create actually a Vimeo account, and we started to document our projects in videos. And with Dirty Cookie, when people see the movie, they wouldn't actually think it's an interior design project because it is an experiential design project. And we want people to have the same feeling, not just to know about, oh, here's the material, here's the floor, here's the ceiling. So I hope you like it, and this is going to be the last thing. I'm on time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let's give it like a few seconds until we switch off the light switches so we can...
Oh, okay. Oh, that's why it doesn't show?
Yeah.
Okay. So actually, us as the cult, we created the creative direction, art direction, we did the styling for this documentation, and our client did not like it, unfortunately. It was sort of for the cult. It was a bit loud for the client, but we really love documenting the project in this way, so we're still happy with it. هي يمكن عشان أولها بس غامق شوية؟
لا بس أحسن الناس
أوكي.
خالص
أوكي.
اعملوا كده
اوكي. انا احط المايك صح؟ اوكي.
Ich bewege mich so langsam, dass ich unbeweglich aussehe. Wutbach, Wildbach, Bäche von meinem Trennen. Niemand hört es, als ich schreie. Niemand hört es, als ich schreie. Niemand hört es, als ich schreie. Niemand hört es, als ich schreie.
Dirty cookie. Was it a good experience? Did you get a taste of the experience through documentation?
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think you should tell that to the client.
So what was why didn't they like it?
First of all, we documented it internally as the cult. And they didn't like the creative idea at the beginning, so they decided not to pitch in with us. So it was just the cult that did it. For them, and this is something that we usually hit this stone هنا في بلدنا للأسف. People are usually afraid of going big or going loud or going provocative, sort of. Again, it makes sense because it wasn't done that way out of nowhere. It's called Dirty Cookie. The brand is called Dirty Cookie. So when we thought of it, رحنا هناك. And also because the concept of the store was blurring the boundaries, so you're blurring sort of the boundaries between those cute people on a date and their beastly side, or how they are when they're alone and they're raw, sort of. But yeah, they didn't like it because it was too much, I think, for them. But it was good for the cult.
You're allowed to use it?
Yeah, we documented it. It was funded by us. So yeah.
You can write down like the dirty cookie, but
We did. We asked them for that. They liked us still, but they let us use it. But
this is great because
yeah, but
other brands would not.
I know. But again, it's sort of how we would document the project for us and for the client. Sometimes, again, we reach a certain اتفاقية إن إحنا we both like this, but sometimes it happens that we have creative differences. بس بنحاول على قد ما نقدر. Again, our service is to cater for the client. But with this project بالذات, we couldn't go any less. We went way less with this music. I couldn't go anywhere more than that. I know.
Great. Any questions for Sarah?
Yes, I do. It's يعني amazing. I love your work. يعني I'm speechless now. But I have a question regarding the video. Like the choice of music, also the costume that they were wearing, the makeup. This is also part of your work, or you have like you collaborate with an art director for that.
No, it's part of the experience. Actually, we did the creative direction, the art direction. We did the styling. بس جبنا مخرج. We collaborated with some more people to actually do the film. أول فيلم نعمله شوية بالشكل ده. That was a 3-minute video. ناس كتير من أصحابي اللي في الفيلد of the media, they said that it needed to be shorter than that. They pinpointed a lot. أنا هجيلك على الموضوع. يعني they pinpointed a lot of the stuff that we did wrong with this movie. But again, we're learning. We're not directors. But again, we wanted to create a video that showed an experience, that showed the feeling. مش again in terms of it's an interior design store وإدي الحيطان وإدي الأرضيات and this is the space. Yeah, we did a lot of work on this. We have our whole team here that worked on it. المايك مروان مش شايفك.
My question might sound a bit provoking يعني بس مش قصدي كده.
أنا آخر واحدة ممكن تقولها كده يعني.
أنا مش بحب البراندينج يعني إن إحنا نقول experiential design. Don't you think every design should be an experiential design?
It should.
Then why is the branding there? That's أول سؤال.
البراندنج في
إن إحنا نقول ده experiential design.
Okay.
ده أول سؤال. ثاني سؤال, don't you think where does the balance come ما بين exciting all the senses? Don't you think that sometimes it's too much to excite all the senses and it's very distracting to excite too many senses at the same time equally? Where do you think this balance, where's the trick there يعني في الحتة؟
Okay, so the first thing was about branding it as an experience. احنا ما بقناش كتير في السوق. We've been, I think I started 5 years ago and then we created the studio 3 years ago. وده كان دراستي. واللي أنا بحاول أعمله من ساعة ما رجعت القاهرة إن إحنا we're trying to raise awareness towards in every design should be an experiential design. Sometimes people do it without actually knowing that it is called experiential design. And other designers don't. They would hold on to one sense in a way and they forget about the others. With interior design spaces, I see a lot of interior designers that I love. They do such a great job and they forget about the music.
مثلا or the acoustic.
Exactly. In general, it shouldn't be left up to the client, or up to chance, or up to the operations that's happening there. It should be curated inside the experience. فإحنا بنحاول نword it as much as possible as an experiential design project. Again, until the awareness is spread enough that we see. I would love to see everyone hitting all the five senses. And in terms of having all the five senses and it being sort of loud. It depends on the space. It depends on the spatial design. You can still hit the five senses and it might not seem as loud. أنا اخترت الexample بتاع Euphoria and I went all the way with Euphoria through what I was showing on the slides. But we did an installation at Cairo Design Awards for a brand called Blend. They're a furniture brand. And they wanted to go very sort of whimsical and very mellow. And the music was very low, and the fabric was very soft, and we created the scent and the taste of, they were giving out like treats. So when you walked in and when you experienced it, it wasn't so loud because they wanted to mimic that sense of whimsy. So it depends, again, on the spatial design and what you're hitting. وزي ما كنت بقول إن there are some projects that you won't be able to hit the five senses. بيبقى في alarm كده اللي هو this isn't working. And we start researching why isn't it working, and if we drop it, it could work better. And you might actually heighten 3 senses out of the 5, and then you're good to go. But again, from the 5 senses graph, I would say that كل ما كانت the senses heightened, it doesn't mean loud, but it means it's there. You resonate with it, you feel it, وبيحصل emotional connection with it. That's what creates sort of a better experience. مع دراستي ممكن ما يبقاش حقيقي الكلام ده في الاخر او ممكن ما يطبقش دايما يعني انا
في علاقه ما بين exciting a sense and having a good experience.
Yes. Yes. I need to tickle your senses. You won't come back. ايه اللي هيجيبك تاني a store if you're not intrigued?
The good experience, the balanced experience.
Yes, the balanced experience, and it needs to intrigue you. It needs to resonate with you. لازم تضغط عندك في حتة في emotional sense بتاعك يحسها. If not, then I'm selling Italian shoes and he's selling Italian shoes. هتروح لمين فينا؟ هتبقى loyal لأنهي brand? The brand that resonates more with you and gives you a better experience. ممكن يبقوا نفس الجزمة في المحلي.
ما أنا عارف بس يعني أنا عايز أقول فين البالانس في الحتة دي يعني having
Yeah, sort of. وفي الآخر إحنا what we usually tend to sell experiential design with is it's not about aesthetic, but it's about bringing customers back. It's about customers lingering more in the store, so they buy more. They market the store, they take pictures, they tag you.
Customers lingering more in the store. We made a research about supermarkets and they found out that when
you don't want them lingering in the store.
No, you want them.
Okay.
So when you put provocative music أو مزيكا بتهيج السنسز أو بتخلي الواحد صح people move quicker and don't buy more and they get done بسرعة ويطلعوا بره
Yeah, then it's not the right music for the store.
Yeah, but when you put the relaxing music,
there's a balance between both. You have so many genres. You don't have to go super intense with the music, and you don't need to be the one. You don't need to go there, برضه. But there is a balance in between. طبعا. It depends. We have actually retail stores that are done for teenagers الحاجات a bit cheaper. I don't have a brand in mind دلوقتي. But usually they use loud and fast music because they want the turnaround in the store to be quicker. Because they're selling for cheap, so they want you to buy 3-4 pieces and it's cheap and you go out and you leave room for other people. But if you go to Massimo Dotti, you won't find the music that fast, the pace itself. But it depends again what your merchandise is or what the experience you want to sort of communicate. So it takes a lot of back and forth. And I went about time.
Our next movie starting in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. we can continue the conversation outside. Please catch Sarah. I'm sure
Yes.
she has more to share.
Yes, أنا مبسوطة قوي بالمايك.